Welcome to Salt of the Earth Farm Stories.
We try to utilise the goats to bring back balance to an ecosystem so that the native plants that should be there have got an even playing field and they can compete.
Welcome to today's episode, where we're talking with Dan Humpage from Enviro Graze, home to some of the cleverest weed warriors you'll ever meet. These goats aren't just grazing, they're bringing balance back to our native landscapes. Dan's approach is like a prescribed remedy for ecological restoration. Thoughtful, sustainable, and surprisingly scientific. And when it comes to controlling blackberries and the like, Dan says it's like a solar farm. The leaves are the panels and the battery is in the ground. We need to flatten that battery. We dive into how these goats help kill weeds, add nitrogen, and encourage native growth. A true win for the environment. Dan also shares how he trains these highly intelligent animals, along with Velvet, the calm matriarch who helps lead the herd. And beyond their work on the land, these goats are bringing people together, sparking conversations, curiosity, and community wherever they go. This episode is proudly brought to you by Kiwa Catchment Landcare Groups. It's a fascinating chat about innovation, ecology, and teamwork between humans and animals alike. G'day, Dan.
Darren, how are you?
I'm good, mate. Mate, I'm looking out over your magnificent property here and I can see possibly 100 plus goats. What do you see?
Yeah, I see a bit more than that. You're right, there's about 100 nannies there and probably 2/3 of them have kitted already. But I see a magnificent tool for vegetation management that's highly unutilised in Australia, unfortunately.
We've got some cute little team members here, mate.
Yeah, they are. The cuteness value of a goat is pretty high, particularly the little ones. They are quite intelligent. They all have different personalities and behaviour.
So you started a great company called Enviro Graze. Can you tell me about that?
I've farmed in Wodonga West for a bit over 25 years. And the whole time I've been here, I've noticed wild goats, rangeland goats wandering the hills above the farm and just been kind of keeping an eye on how they behave and what they eat and how they do manage a lot of weeds. I always thought there'd be a great use for them to take an animal that has a perception of being a feral pest, and sometimes they do earn that tag, and actually putting them to good use. Utilising their skills in eating plants that you don't want or plants that are overly dominant in an area. So yeah, that's what we embarked on. We started to catch a bit over 4 years ago some of the goats that were above the farm, and I think between me and a couple of the neighbours we caught 600 in the first 18 months. A lot of those were billies. The native herd that was up on the hill roaming around was male dominant. It was right out of balance. So a lot of those went off to the abattoir and it actually changed the whole structure of the wild herd. But yeah, the ones that we caught, we trained, turned into a breeding herd and then started utilising them for vegetation management.
Amazing. So out in the wild, is it usually the billy goat that's the most dominant?
Oh, absolutely. They're a lot bigger, they're a lot stronger, and they only think about two things.
Yeah.
Eating and the ladies.
Yes.
And they don't take no for an answer. Yeah, it was a little bit upsetting for my partner Fiona to watch what used to happen.
Yeah, they're aggressive.
Very, to the point where they would be the end of some nannies.
So Enviro Graze, you hire out these goats to take control of likes of woody weeds such as blackberry and the like. So how does that actually work?
Not only blackberry and noxious weeds, but also native plants that are out of balance with their environment. We try to utilise the goats to bring back balance to an ecosystem so that the native plants that should be there have got an even playing field and they can compete because we've got pressure from the goats on the plants that are overly dominant or we don't want there at all. That's the main aim. And as far as the blackberries go, which are becoming a bigger problem in the last sort of 5 to 10 years, hard to manage. It's problematic to use poisons where blackberries like to live, which is usually near a watercourse. So we find that the goats are the most environmentally friendly way to manage problematic plants and bring that balance back to the ecosystem.
You've shown me some of the spots you've been working on with the goats, and before you got there, I noticed it was just out of control with blackberries and other weeds. And, you know, you said that the native grass seeds were there, they just had no chance of popping up. This particular place was in a public space and on a waterway, so we can't use chemicals. The blackberries have been there for years and spreading further because the berries are there and birds are taking them on. But tell me about that management system. You don't just fence off an area and leave them there for 12 months, do you? You've got to carefully watch them and make sure that they're eating a certain amount down.
Yeah, the secret to using goats for vegetation management is they've got to be trained for the job, and it's got to be a prescribed remedy for the issue that's at hand in the environment that you want to deal with. You can't just throw them in there and go, yep, go for your life, eat it until there's nothing left and the problem's solved. It's not as simple as that. The blackberries, for example, the easiest way for me to explain, a blackberry is like a solar farm with a battery. The leaves are the solar panels, and a good healthy blackberry will have about a foot layer of leaves on the surface. Underneath are all the canes, but the batteries are in the ground. They're protected from fire, they're protected from mulching machines and earth-moving equipment. That energy is stored in the ground in a safe place. So you can come and burn them, you can use a forestry mulcher to try to eradicate them, but more often than not, it's like pruning a hedge. You actually stimulate and invigorate growth, and 12, 18 months later, you could have a bigger problem. So the way we do it is we want to strip all the leaves off with the goats and eat as many of the canes as they're happy to eat. But as soon as they've got to that point, and before they start to look at native plants to consume for their nutrition, we take them away. Because what we want to do is get that blackberry plant to start drawing on its energy reserve in its root to put out a whole new suite of leaves so that it can generate more energy to either store or expand its territory, because that's what a blackberry wants to do, is just consume more energy to expand its territory. So we'll get it to waste a heap of energy, grow on a heap of leaves, and then we bring the goats back and we punish it and strip all the leaves off again, and they'll do more damage to the canes. And the blackberry is a unique plant where if you do that at the right time to the right level, it'll make a decision and it can cut circulation off to a third of its cane and drop that cane off to try to survive. If it starts to get stressed, not only from the goats, but also the environment, it hasn't got its protective blanket of leaves to protect it from the harsh sun in the summer and the frost in the winter. So now you've got goats and the environment stressing that plant. And so it'll retreat above the ground, it'll retreat below the ground. So its battery gets smaller and its ability to grow leaves becomes smaller. And if you continue that process, 12, 18 months, it could even take 2 years for a really well-established bunch of blackberries, you will drain its battery and kill it without using a chemical and without using a machine. And while you're doing it, you're giving the native plants a chance to regenerate because they've got less pressure from the blackberry. But the goats are also fertilising the land as they go with manure that's high in nitrogen, which is the building block after a fire. You'll see the wattles will be starting to establish their nitrogen fixing. So your soil health improves. And the native plants are more capable of dealing with a light graze from an animal. That's what they've evolved for kangaroos, wombats and wallabies and that. So it's all about, you might have 95% blackberry, 5% native. If you can bring the percentage of the blackberry down and at the same time let the native plants percentage grow, over time you can make it hard for the invasive weeds to get re-established. As long as you maintain the site. It's not as fast as using a machine or a chemical, but it doesn't have all the negative connotations of using those traditional methods. But the result in the end is far better, and it's with far less of an environmental impact.
So to sum that up, the leaves are the solar panels, putting sun and photosynthesizing the plant to charge the battery. You bite the leaf off, it shoots again. You bite the leaf off, it shoots again. You bite the leaf off, the battery goes, I give up, I'm dying.
Yep.
Perfect. I love that concept.
Yeah.
And talking about right beside waterways, if we went in there and sprayed it, firstly, we're going to be risking chemical in the waterway, which we can't do. And also, we still want some ground cover beside that waterway to stop erosion and so forth.
Oh.
So with your careful management, you can pull the goats out when you can see signs before it's too late.
Yep.
Also, these areas, and one of them in particular showed me in a suburban type area, there were lots of feral pests around there, rabbits running galore,
Yeah.
and they had plenty of spots to habitate. Snakes in around people.
Yep.
Now that you've cleared this area, they're disappearing.
Yeah, one of the sort of positive spin-offs of introducing goats to an environment like that is, and I found this particularly on sites where we worked on vacant industrial blocks next to factories. Traditionally, they would just slash it. You know, they'd let the grass grow, it was 1.5 feet high, they'd come in and slash it. All that material's still on site. So the habitat for the rodents, because you can't slash right to the ground like a mower, like it's just, you know, smashing it all up. So all the rodents were still there, which meant there was a food source for the snakes. And when the snakes wanted to go and get a drink or, you know, find a bit of warm concrete to lay down on, they were going into the factories.
Ah, yeah.
So the people would be working away, next minute they turn around and there's a 6-foot long brown snake there. It was really interesting to see the way the goats, they consume the grass so that it looks like it's been mown and the clippings have been caught. So it took away the habitat for the food source for the snakes. But snakes don't like goats because goats have got very hard, pointy feet. I found everywhere we took the goats that had a snake problem beforehand, commented, haven't seen a snake since, which is a great extra win on top of the vegetation management.
Around the houses and people for sure.
Absolutely.
So what's involved in taking goats to a property? You take fencing panels?
First thing we do is a site inspection, just to establish, if we can actually safely achieve what they want to do using the goats, because not all sites are the same, and some sites we can't help with due to, it could be terrain or access, or it could be a number of things, quality of fencing. We do an assessment and make sure that the goats aren't going to be unsafe and we can actually achieve what we want. If we need to provide temporary fencing, we've got custom panels that we can provide that are specifically designed for goats. They're a cross between a pool fence and a construction site temporary fence.
So about what?
They're about 1250 to 1300 millimetres high.
Yeah.
The beauty of them is they clamp together like a construction site fence, but you don't need the concrete block at the bottom.
Perfect.
You can actually create torque in the fence when you put it up, and it'll stand up on its own. There's no horizontal bars on the fence, bar the top and bottom bar, for the goats to get a foothold on. And since I've been using this fence, if the fence is not tampered with, I've never had a goat get out. They are fantastic. But if you've got wombats or native animals like echidnas, and they want to burrow underneath it, it's got enough give in it that'll lift up and let them get under without compromising the integrity of the fence.
Yeah, they're a steady unit for sure.
Yeah.
So you'll take water in for them if there's no water there, and then you'll check them regularly?
Yeah, if they're in town, I usually try to have them checked every day just to make sure that there's no issue, that they've got water. If there's no water on site, we can provide tubs, and because we're checking them every day, we can top their water up. During the cooler months, goats drink very little to no water. They get enough moisture out of the plants that they eat. It's only when it gets quite hot and dry, or if they're feeding a kid, that they'll consume a fair bit of water.
Is that right? That's why they survive so well out in the rangelands.
Yeah, I mean, they're a desert animal.
Yeah.
They prefer to be in a dry, arid climate. That's usually where they're healthiest.
So you said before, these goats, originally you caught them in the wild, you trained them, and now they're calm little weed eaters. How do you even begin to train a wild goat?
It's funny. Some respond to human interaction a lot quicker than others, and it's all around food. I've had wild billies that I've caught that I was able to hand feed within 2 weeks. We've actually padded wild goats over the fence on the boundary fence in the back paddock. because they come over, they're curious, and they see our goats, and they've been calm enough for us to pat. Now that would be the genetics of that goat would show me that would be a great goat to have because it's already quiet.
Yeah.
Because you want a goat that is quiet and easy to handle and doesn't get stressed at the slightest noise or a dog barking or a mower or a car going past. So, and it's all about using food to gain their trust. And the biggest secret is to move slowly around them. If you walk at a normal pace close to them when you're first around them, they'll get scared. They'll think you're a predator. But you just got to have that patience to gain their trust. And once they know that you provide them with food, it doesn't take long before if they see a threat like our wonder dog Mort, our goat dog, they will actually come to me for protection.
Right.
So with soft pressure from him, I can start to move them around.
Yeah. He works them well, doesn't he?
He does, and he's getting better. I mean, he's still only young. He's not even 2 years old yet, but his natural instincts to be soft pressure is fantastic because you don't need the pressure that you would need on sheep or cattle because goats are smarter than sheep. You just need that little bit of I'm here, and they will want to come to me. So
now you introduced me to Velvet before. Is she a bit of a matriarch, perhaps a leader in the pack?
Yeah, having bottle-fed goats is both good and bad. They're fantastic, and Velvet was one of the first goats that was born on the property from the first stock of wild goats that we got. Within a week and a half of catching the first 100 goats, a heap of them had babies. It was in the middle of winter, it was freezing cold, it was a nightmare. She was a triplet, her mother rejected her, so we had to bottle feed her. We found her in the paddock, near dead. We put her in the oven for the first 3 hours of her life because they die of hypothermia very easily when they're young. We managed to save her and bottle rear her, and now she's so quiet, sometimes she's a pest.
Yeah.
But she is fantastic for training each year that we have a new mob of kids that come through. We put a quiet nanny, and Velvet's one of them, with that mob to help them acclimatise with people because they all copy each other. And if they've got a goat that they look up to, a mother figure, and they see that she's quite happy and feels safe around me and other people, they're more likely to come up and they see her getting a pat and wagging her tail and getting food. After a while, they get a little bit of confidence and then they start doing it as well. And before you know it, it got to the point where I would take them for walks around the bottom 100 acres and she would be the leader. I'd be out the front. I'd call her. She'd come to me and they'd all come with her. The wonder dog would be out the back just to keep any stragglers in the bunch. And we've been training that last mob to be able to walk them into jobs that we can't get a vehicle into, which is going to be a great asset down the track when they're old enough to go on jobs.
So you do take them for a walk?
Oh, I do take goats for a walk. Yes.
Fascinating. God, Velvet would have been a bit worried going into the oven, wouldn't she? Perhaps coming out as a roast.
She was.
Because they are the most eaten meat in the world, apparently.
They are. And Australia's the biggest exporter of goat meat as well, by a long way. But yeah, so she could safely say that she's been in the oven for 3 hours and lives to tell the tale.
What do you do there? Do you just leave the door open and low temperature?
Yeah, and we've since learnt better techniques on how to warm a hypothermic baby goat up, and that's to put them in a garbage bag and immerse them in water.
Yeah, right.
Because then you've got the same consistency of heat around their whole body, and all you got to do is hold their head out of the water, and it gets their core temperature up quicker and safer and then less likely of getting singed. Because the downside of a little goat getting cold is they lose the ability to swallow. And if you can't warm them up enough that they can eat to create their own body heat through their digestive system, they will die.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So you've got a couple of names I've heard of, but you can't name them all.
No, we'll probably be getting up towards probably high 300s now. I'd say there's probably 50 or 60 that have got names though. And they get their name from doing something a little bit out of the ordinary, or like we've got Dennis the Menace.
Yes.
And he is an absolute menace. Into everything. Caspar, he got his name because he's got a big fat head and he's white. So Nibbler got his name because he was notorious. You'd stand there talking to someone, he'd sneak up behind them like a ninja. He'd undo their shoe and then chew the hem on their dress or their shorts.
Oh, God.
And then sneak off. And then I get a phone call, your bloody goat chewed me, bloody. It's like,
Nibbler.
yeah, so he's Lord Nibbler.
Lord Nibbler.
Yeah, he's a ripper. Yeah, probably got 50 or 60 that have got names.
Now, I've called them a team, I've called them a pack, but what do we actually call a group of goats? Is it a herd?
Well, you could have got me, but I'd say, yeah, either a herd or a flock.
Yeah, right.
They are a little bit different to sheep, but yeah, probably.
Yeah. We might just call them the A-team, hey?
Yeah, we've got a few of the A-team there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, I love this concept, and these goats can get to a lot of places that humans can't.
Mm-hmm.
You know, even if you did want to go and spray it with chemical, there's a lot of places that humans can't get to that the goats will and love it.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, they're renowned for their ability to, travel across pretty extreme terrain. And if there's food involved, they're quite happy to do that. Places that are particularly hard to get either machinery or a person, that is their bread and butter,
Yeah, I've talked a lot about blackberries, but there's lots of other woody weeds and weeds in general that they'll control.
Yep.
What are some of they?
Well, they love Patterson's Curse, they'll eat St John's wort, heliotrope, gorse. Most of being desert animals, anything with a thorn on it usually, like Scotch thistles, any of the blackberry sort of briar, any of those rose sort of family plants, they love roses.
Do they?
Oh, roses are ice cream to a goat.
Really?
They love them, yeah.
Which would be similar to a blackberry leaf.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Have you ever tasted a blackberry leaf to see what all the hype's about?
I can't say I have.
No. Good.
I can't say I have. They do actually have tiny little barbs around the edge of them. So
Yes, I felt those too.
yeah. But they'll eat most things. They can actually eat things that are toxic as well to a certain degree, that other animals, if they did eat, could get quite sick and maybe perish. But for their body size, they've got a very big liver, and their ability to process toxic components is very good for their body size. As long as they've got other plants to eat with toxic weeds, they will monitor how much of the bad plant they can eat safely.
Right.
Without putting themselves in harm. If that's the only thing they can eat, though, you are putting them at risk.
Yeah. So they're very conscious of their gut health.
Oh, they're very perceptive on what they're eating and how much of things that could cause them harm to eat.
So on that, a lot of people might say, well, look, they're going to eat the blackberry seed, for example, and then poo it out the other end and spread the seeds. But what happens in that process?
Well, this is one of the real advantages of using a goat for this type of activity is the way their digestive system, being ruminants, they do ferment the seed in their stomach before it gets into the third and fourth stomach. I think it was the University of Queensland did a study on Scotch thistle seed, which is very, very small, a lot smaller than a blackberry seed. And I think there was over 95% of the Scotch thistle seed was unviable, and the less than 1% that looked viable, they tried to germinate them and they couldn't get any of it to germinate. So I'm not sure if it was a University of Adelaide or Queensland, but I did read recently that was the case of that study. I mean, the biggest spreader of blackberries would be birds and foxes.
Yeah.
But as far as goats go, it's widely accepted that whatever they eat, their digestive system destroys the seed. So you're not replenishing the soil profile with more plants that are going to be problems down the track. So that's where a long-term maintenance program using goats to have grazing pressure on plants you want to get rid of, prescribed grazing pressure, that deals with the plant in its live state, but it's also hindering the repopulation of the soil with more seeds that are going to be a problem in 10 and 20 and 30 years.
And talking about biodiversity, we're only going to end up enhancing the biodiversity, aren't we? So we're going to have all the native grasses, the trees are coming back, they're getting a chance to shoot from seeds, which is going to be better for birds, etc. So that's got to be good. And native grasses like microlina or weeping grass can come back once these weeds are gone. So Dan, what sort of clients have you got?
Pretty wide variety, actually. Could be just a basic backyard. We do commercial and industrial sites, public land, golf courses, solar farms, water courses, government land, and we're even just about to do a job for the CFA. Fuel reduction graze rather than a fuel reduction burn off pre-summer.
What a good idea.
Yeah, far safer, less impact on the animals and that are there. Target the plants you want to get rid of without damaging the ones you want to keep.
Love it.
We've done work for people that wanted to do an end of season veggie patch cleanup. Orchards, some of the photos, like if you said to someone, oh, this is what it looked like and this is what it ended up like, people would go, oh, it can't be that good. But when we first go to a site, we see it at its worst before the goats have been in there. And sometimes it can be, we had one client, he hurt his back, couldn't do any work in his backyard for over a year. He had a wild blackberry bush that had grown up over the fence into the neighbours, that had climbed up into his fruit trees. It was a nightmare. The goats came in, they ate everything down to the ground, they edged, they uplifted all his fruit trees, which he wanted to do as well. And he had a privet there as well. And they ate that, stripped all the bark off it, and then he cut it down and they ate it all on the ground.
And this is in a small backyard.
This was in a small backyard. It was a small space. It was probably only, I'd say, 3 metres wide and about 30 metres long, sort of an L shape around the back of a swimming pool. And they were wrapped. He said, I wouldn't have cared if they didn't eat any of the weeds because we had all our friends around 3 nights in a row and they all wanted to feed the goats and pat the goats and their kids wanted to play with them. And and I sent 6 bottle-fed things that were really quiet and liked to interact with people. So they had a great time. They got their veggie patch and orchard all cleaned up. And he said, it would have cost $1,000 to get gardeners in there to do that. And I think we charged him like $450.
Wow.
So
That's rewarding for you, isn't it?
Oh, it is, like you see the look on someone's face, they can see how much work it saves them, physical work, and sometimes it's not easy cleaning out a backyard or a veggie patch or whatever. But then they've also got the additional fertilised, and all the volume of vegetation has left site, or
that's right. It just disappeared.
You didn't have to take anything to the tip. You didn't have to prune your trees. You didn't have to, they did everything. And all you had to do was to provide them with a bit of water.
You've had some of your goats on a public space just near where I live, and it's incredible what they've done. But I've also noticed the public interest. They love them.
I've actually been a bit blown away with some of the comments that people living close to a site where we've had to put the goats, a couple of council jobs in town, one in Wodonga West and the other one Wodonga South, talking about the mental health improvement. There was one street in a fairly new area and they said that one of the ladies there said, before your goats came along, the 10 people that lived across the road from the park never knew each other's names. But each night they would start to come out and interact with the goats. And the goats were there for 10 weeks, I think. And they said by the end of it, everybody knew everyone in the street. They were all friends. They had a reason to socialise that they normally wouldn't have gone out of their way. And they said it was so good to have all these new friends in the street. It was like a neighbourhood that wasn't there before.
That's fascinating.
If that makes sense. Especially after COVID, people become pretty insular. And the people in the retirement village on the other side of it, it took them about 3 weeks and all of a sudden all these grandkids started showing up. They're like, come and visit Nan and Pop, we've got goats. And they said that was fantastic for their family unit, but also the people in the retirement home. It gave them a focus outside their normal day-to-day life. And they saw how much the goats were cleaning up an area close to their houses that was overgrown with blackberries and it had issues with snakes and whatever. So, a lot of positives.
I love that. And I'm just thinking, this is triple bottom line. Social, which I didn't think it was going to be, environmental and financial.
Yep.
Well done. Are these goats living their best life?
I think so. They'll certainly probably live a lot longer and healthier life without the stresses of trying to stay alive in a wild environment. They get chauffeured around to new sites where they get to taste new delicacies. They got a wide variety of diet. Yeah, they seem pretty happy. And the amount of people, we've had them on the causeway between Albury and Wodonga at the traffic lights there. And sometimes I'll show up there to check their water and give them a bit of hay. as a bit of a supplementary feed, and there'll be 5 carloads of people there feeding them. Some people will go to the supermarket and buy pre-packaged bags of salad and dice up carrot and apple and pineapple and watermelon and, you know, but I said to people, you know, banana peel, bring your banana peel. So all the kids save up their banana peels.
Perfect.
They have a ball.
And that's getting these kids outside, off their devices.
And the biggest thing was, Mum, I want to see the goats. Have you tidied up your room?
There you go.
Oh, no room tidy, no goats.
I love that.
Positive leverage.
Yeah.
The parents were going, this is great. So even NDIS clients, you'd be surprised how many NDIS clients we bump into at our sites, enjoying the company. People find a relaxation aspect to just sitting, spending time with the goat.
Oh, they're a pleasure to watch. They dance around and they're entertainers.
Yes, they are. Especially, I mean, I think we've got about 45 new babies now that ranging from 2 days old to 2.5 weeks. And around that week to 10 days is when they get supercharged and are just going bonkers. Like one of them will take off and then the whole lot of them take off. And every morning they all climb up on a pile of dirt and say, who's the king of the castle? And they're butting their heads and it's pretty funny.
So Dan, you're based in the Albury-Wodonga area.
Yep.
Can you tell me your website, please? If people want to get in touch with you, how do they do that?
www.envirograze.au. And most of the sites that we've got, we have signage and it's got my contact number on there or the website. Yeah, we can get us on social media or on our Facebook page, EnviroGraze. Yeah, send us a message. We're getting quite a few this time of the year, mid-spring, a lot of grass growth, a lot of weed growth. And also people are starting to think about fire protection and prevention coming into summer. So, yeah, we're getting lots of inquiries through our social media now.
Fantastic. All right, mate, we're up to the off-the-wall questions.
Right.
Are you up for it?
Yeah, okay.
These are just short answers. Have you ever caught a goat giving you the look, like, you want me to eat that?
Probably in a different context. It's like, you want me to eat that? Well, you put food in front of them and if it's something they want to eat, you get out of the way.
If you could give your best goat a superhero name, what would it be?
A friend of mine, Nick Orr, he built this actually. He calls it the Goaterator.
Now, Mick's the noisy bloke that's been making noise in about 6 episodes of my podcast over the last year or two.
Right.
And he's down there again today making more noise.
Yes, he loves noise. He's got very good earplugs, so he doesn't care how much noise he makes. But to do what I do, I need a lot of different people to be part of the team. And Mick's a great part of the team. We've been mates for 30 years. He's a great builder. Like he lined this shed. He built this stanchion for treating their feet. Yeah, he called that the Goaterator. So I'd say, I don't know, superhero. That's a hard one.
Captain Chewbacca? the Browsinator?
The Browsinator.
Dr. Weed Whack?
Weed Whackers, yeah. They do all of those things. So
which goat in your herd is most likely to escape? Find the snack stash and act like it was your fault.
She wouldn't, she's not one to escape, but yeah, as far as finding food, Velvet.
Velvet?
Yeah, absolutely. If she hears the rustle of something or she sees you put your hand in your pocket, she'll think something's coming out that she wants.
Could she be the diva?
Oh yeah, she's definitely a diva. She can be quite cranky with the young ones, a bit bossy, definitely.
Do any of them need a little pep talk first?
No, they don't need any motivation at all. They're highly motivated. It's all about food.
What's the weirdest, funniest or most surprising thing a goat has done on the job?
Well, and she got this nickname purely because what she was doing. We called her Monkey. She got that name because down at David Winterbottom Park, there's a stand of black willows, which the council wanted to take down. And a big reason that we got the job was to get rid of all the reeds that were 5 metres tall around those and the blackberries and whatever, so that the council guys could get in there. Well, she proceeded to climb up one of these trees.
The willow?
About 35 feet. Oh. To the point where the branch, you know where the bark changes from mature to, she was right up there, standing on limbs that were like 2 inches wide, reaching up, stripping the bark off. And I'm like, God, if you fall from up there. So she got the name Monkey,
Monkey.
and yeah, that was pretty impressive, her ability to climb trees.
What's your favourite tool?
Definitely a goat. Definitely a goat. The acronym, the greatest of all time, is accurate. They provide fibre, they provide milk, they provide meat. But I think their biggest skill today, Australia is starting to understand, is environmentally friendly vegetation management. It happens everywhere else around the world. We're just starting to catch on at its true value.
And I think the word management is a crucial word in there, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. People tried doing this 20 years ago, and what they did was they went and just bought a truckload of wild goats from Laos or Ivanhoe and then chucked them in a paddock. They didn't maintain the fences. The goats ran out of food, and then they escaped into the neighbours or into public land and became a problem.
Mm.
This has got to be prescribed. It's got to be highly managed, and they've got to be trained. Like, if they do get out, I'll be totally transparent here. We put them in on a job. The grass had grown up the side of the chain mesh fence that high that you couldn't see that someone had cut a hole in the fence. It was in an industrial site, backed onto the railway line. And I got down there one day and they'd eaten all this grass and discovered this hole. I got down there and there was 2 out of 92 goats in the paddock we were supposed to be doing this job in. And they'd all got out. They were all mooching around on the side of the railway line thinking it was great. I got out there and yelled at them, and they're like little kids. They all were bumping into each other trying to get back through the hole. To get back. Yeah, it's like, get back in, you know. They're like little kids. They behave exactly the same. You catch them doing the wrong thing, you yell at them. They most often scurry back into where they've come from. If you get 1 or 2 that get separated and get a bit stressed, we've got the dog to round the last few up. But more often than not, yeah, you can just chastise them and they'll go back to where they should have been.
What time of the day?
You've got a visitor.
Oh, hello. Is this Velvet?
This is Velvet, size of a wine barrel.
Hello, Velvet. We'll take a photo of you, Velvet. We'll put it on Salt of the Earth Farm Stories Facebook page so our listeners can have a look at you. All right, Dan, what time do goats get their best work done?
They don't sleep very much. At the moment, we're bottle feeding 2 little ones, and so I'm up in the middle of the night sometimes. The other night, it was a bit of a moonlight. All of them were out eating.
Were they?
They don't stop. They're very efficient at their job and they love their work. Anytime, day or night, unless it's super hot and they want to just kick back in the shade, they'll just eat all night then.
Now, Dan, if you could live anywhere in the world, where would it be?
There's some beautiful places around the world, but I do love living here. The only downside to living here is it's so far from the beach.
Yeah, true.
There's very few things that you can't do here for little to no money. We've got a great environment, we've got great climate, we've got the river, the lake, the snow's not far away, the bush. Like, what more do you want?
Absolutely. Well, Dan, a fascinating chat I've had with you, mate. Thanks very much. And I've loved hearing about your herd of eco-warriors with hooves. Why spray when you can graze?
That's a good one.
Well, Dan, thanks very much, mate.
Thank you. Thanks for dropping in. Welcome here anytime.
What an inspiring conversation with Dan from EnviroGraze. His goats aren't just managing weeds, they're reshaping how we think about land care, community and connection to nature. If you'd like to see these weed warriors in action or learn more about Dan's work, check out EnviroGraze online. This episode is proudly brought to you by Kiwa Catchment Landcare Groups, improving the long-term sustainability of farming and the environment in northeast Victoria. Thanks for listening. And remember, sometimes the smartest solutions come with 4 legs and a whole lot of heart.